I'm a citizen of our Caribbean civilization, and particularly of our island nation of Barbados. All right? And let me say that as a citizen, I have a basic regard for all other Barbadian citizens. I don't consider them to be enemies. But if I discover that some fellow citizen is taking advantage or is somehow doing something that could damage the national interest, then I reserve the right to challenge, to intervene. And even more so with our government. Our government belongs to us, the citizens, and therefore must be accountable to us. And we have a right, if we believe or we have doubts about something that our government has done or is doing, we have the right as citizens to call them to account. And in fact, this Westminster two-party system that the British imposed upon us, it is seriously flawed. But if it is going to work, the only way it is going to work is if we, the citizens, hold the politicians, the government, the political elite accountable by challenging them, right? So that's the background I want to paint. Okay, now let's deal with this Hyatt issue. In July of last year, Mr. Mark Maloney held a press conference and made a public statement to the effect that in September 2016, his company would be commencing construction of a 15-story Hyatt hotel at Bay Street on the beach that we know as Browns Beach. Well, when I heard this, I was aghast. So I put pen to paper. I wrote to the chief town planner and the minister responsible for town and country planning. And I said to both of them, look, Maloney can't just be given permission like that to engage in a project of that magnitude. First of all, there must be an environmental impact assessment to determine what impact such a project would have, not only on the physical environment, the beach, for example, but also the social environment, right? And as a component of that environmental impact assessment, there must be at least one town hall meeting where the people can ask questions, the people can get information, and the people can make representation and objections if they so deem fit. That is an integral part of an environmental impact assessment. Well, needless to say, I never heard from either the chief town planner nor the minister responsible for town and country planning, who happens to be our Prime Minister, Mr. Frundell Stewart. So they didn't even bother to respond by acknowledging my letters. And then several months later, Mr. Stewart went ahead and granted Maloney's company the permission to construct this 15-story hotel. So it is at that point that I determined as a citizen of Barbados that I was going to ask a judge of the Supreme Court to review the procedure by which the Prime Minister had processed Mr. Maloney's application and given him permission. Now, this is a process called judicial review. It is a very important process, right? We have something called the Administrative Justice Act. And under the Administrative Justice Act, any citizen of Barbados, if a public authority, a government department, head of a government department, a minister of government, if any public authority does an act or takes a decision that we feel aggrieved by, and once we have a sufficient interest in the particular issue, we have the right to go to our Supreme Court, right? It's our country, it is our court, and to say to a judge of our Supreme Court, look, we want you to review, to look into the actions of that minister or that government department. So this is what I did. In March of 2017, I filed an application for judicial review of the actions of the minister, not Maloney, because Maloney can apply for whatever he wants, right? Whatever he wants, he could apply for. It is up to the public authority who has to process Maloney's application and decide whether to grant it or not. It is up to that public authority to act properly and in accordance with the relevant laws and procedures. So my problem with what was done is that, under my understanding of the law, the minister had to first order the carrying out of an environmental impact assessment, and he had to receive the information coming from that environmental impact assessment, including a report on a town hall meeting where we, citizens of Barbados, members of the public, would have had an opportunity to express our opinions. He had to have received all of that information and to have considered all of that information before he would be in a position to make a decision whether to grant permission to construct this hotel or not. So I'm asking a judge, look, please review what this minister has done. Please review whether he wasn't obligated to first carry out this environmental impact assessment, and then make a determination as to whether this permission was lawfully granted or was unlawfully granted. And of course, if it was unlawfully granted, then please quash the permission, right? So that was the application I filed, the first application I filed. Then after that, I filed a second application. This is what we call an interlocutory application or a subsidiary application. And in that subsidiary application, I asked the judge to grant an interim order suspending the permission granted to Maloney until the court can hear the entire matter and make a decision one way or the other, right? So those are the two applications, but neither one of those applications have been heard by the court yet. So no decision has been made on either one of those applications as of now. And we are supposed to go before the court on the 9th of May, when presumably the case will start. So basically that is what this is all about. It is really shameful that government ministers would get up in Parliament and would attack a citizen of Barbados for going to our Supreme Court and asking a judge of our Supreme Court to look into to review the actions of a government minister, because this goes to the very heart of democracy. You know, these politicians would like to keep us, the citizens, in some kind of subservient, browbeaten condition where we don't even challenge whatever they do. Well, I can assure them that they will not intimidate me, and I can assure them that I am committed to doing whatever I can to help to create a Barbados in which the citizens of Barbados understand that the country belongs to them, that they should assert a sense of ownership of the country, that they, the citizens and taxpayers, pay the salaries of these ministers of government, that these MPs and ministers of government are supposed to be our servants, and we have a right, and in fact a duty, to hold them to account, to hold them accountable. And if we feel that it has gone so far that it is no longer about writing letters or simply speaking to them, it is now about asking the Supreme Court, a judge of the Supreme Court, to review their actions, then we are entitled to do so. That is what you call participatory democracy. So we shall see. I find it really peculiar. If as these ministers are saying, they did everything correctly, dotted every I and crossed every T, then why are they so concerned about a Supreme Court judge reviewing the procedure that they applied to processing this particular application? So the case will be heard, and the court will ultimately pronounce upon it. Me personally, so my application really is about, has the correct procedure been followed? Has Mr. Stewart, and why the procedure is important? Because the law recognizes that there are certain construction projects that have the potential to seriously and fundamentally damage both the physical and social environment of the country. And therefore, that is why the law determines that projects of a certain nature require the holding of an environmental impact assessment, right? So this is all about, have they followed the correct procedure? And all Barbados should be interested in knowing this, because we should want to know that we are not going to allow a project that may do serious harm to our precious environment. All right? So that is how I see it. From my own personal point of view, and this is only a personal David Comissiong point of view, I personally have difficulty with more major structures being constructed on the beautiful beaches of Barbados, right? I feel that we have already gone too far in constructing hotels and other structures on our beaches. There are some countries in which no hotels are constructed on the beach. There's the beach, then there's a coastal highway, and any hotel is on the land side of the coastal highway. You go to Durban in South Africa, for example, that most beautiful and extensive Durban beach. There's not a single hotel constructed on Durban Beach. You're all on the land side of the coastal highway. So I personally feel that we have gone too far in constructing these things, and that we are in danger of killing the goose that lays the golden egg, destroying the very asset that we need to be a foundation of our tourism industry. But that's my personal position. I can't impose that personal position on the nation of Barbados. Barbados will have to decide. But as a citizen, I can insist that that there's one Barbados and there's one law, and that law must be the same for every applicant for town and country planning permission, whether it is Mr. Maloney or it is some other Barbadian. And in my opinion, Mr. Maloney and his company, the law said that they were required to do an environmental impact assessment, and that